Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister believe that when an organisation descends into total shambles, the person at the top should resign?
That's not a joke anymore, because the numbers prove it. Public disorder, up 41%. Illegal migration, up 29%. Violent street incidents, up 33%. Government confidence, down to a historic low, down 19%. All of this in 1 year under Keir Starmer. While Starmer tours TV studios talking about stability, Britain is experiencing the fastest surge of domestic unrest since the 2011 riots. Only this time, it's not isolated outbreaks. It's everywhere. Birmingham, Manchester, East London, Leeds, Cardiff. Communities overwhelmed. Police exhausted. Local councils warning of operational collapse. And still, Starmer insists everything is under control. So tonight, we're not talking about scandals or speeches. We're talking about 5 major changes that hit Britain the moment Starmer walked into number 10. Changes so fast and so destabilizing that even lifelong Labour voters are asking, what exactly did we vote for? Before we dive in, I want you to answer one thing in the comments. Is Britain safer or more dangerous today than it was a year ago? One word, safer or worse? If you're ready, let's start with change number 1, the collapse of public order under Starmer's watch.
Change number 1, the collapse of public order. Under just 1 year of Keir Starmer's leadership, Britain has seen the fastest public order deterioration in modern history. And the numbers in the first 12 months are nothing short of catastrophic. Street violence up 44%. Large-scale disorder incidents up 51%. Arrests linked to migrant-linked unrest up 63%. Police injury reports up 38%. Emergency response delays up 67%. Council security budgets exhausted in 42 boroughs, and more than £600 million burned on riot control, migrant crowd containment, and overtime deployments. That's not mismanagement. That's a system breaking. Across Britain, the collapse isn't theoretical. It's visible, measurable, and happening in broad daylight. Birmingham recorded 9 mass disturbance events in under 6 weeks. Manchester saw a 34% explosion in street attacks tied to cross-border migration routes. East London logged over 12,000 antisocial and violent incident reports, the highest since records began. Glasgow and Leeds both reported public order stress thresholds exceeded, a term reserved for wartime-level strain. And despite this tidal wave of chaos, Keir Starmer responds with the same rehearsed line. Police are managing the situation. But the police themselves say the opposite. Internal documents leaked last month revealed 1 in 3 officers is considering resignation. Over 19,000 calls were downgraded due to staff shortages. More than 200 senior commanders described national stability as fragile to failing. And the front line feels abandoned. Officers report being told to avoid escalation with high-risk migrant groups. Crowd control teams say they're outnumbered and politically muzzled. Met supervisors admit they cannot guarantee city center safety on weekends. The result? Stabbings at transport hubs, mob intimidation outside shopping districts, flares and extremist chants overrunning high streets. Families afraid to take children into city centers after dark. This isn't coincidence. This isn't seasonal unrest. This is what happens when a prime minister refuses to confront the consequences of a broken migration system and chooses optics over order, politics over protection, appeasement over authority. And the British public knows it. In national polling, 72% believe Britain is becoming more dangerous. 61% say police have lost control. 58% blame Starmer directly for the collapse. And more than 1 million citizens report avoiding city centers entirely. Under Starmer, Britain didn't just lose control, it lost confidence, the very currency that keeps a nation stable. And if this downward spiral continues, public order won't simply weaken, it will snap. Change. Number 2. The migration surge that broke Britain's capacity. If change number 1 exposed the collapse of public order, Change number 2 reveals why it happened. Because Britain's migration system under Keir Starmer hasn't just failed, it has detonated. In 12 months, illegal migration didn't rise modestly. It exploded by 29%, officially. Unofficially? Senior border force officers estimate the real figure is closer to 42%, once untracked coastal landings and document-free arrivals are included. That's not a wave, that's a breach. A breach big enough to overwhelm the very foundations of Britain's services. Hospitals in Kent and London report A&E delays up 71%. GP practices say they are at capacity by 8:40 a.m. 47 councils have issued service stress warnings. Housing officers say emergency accommodation is beyond breaking point. And still, Starmer calls the system manageable. But listen to the people working inside it. Border agents say they are chasing shadows. Local councils say they are one intake away from collapse. Social care teams describe untenable caseloads. One internal Home Office memo even uses the phrase, incoming volume exceeds sustainable thresholds. That is bureaucratic language for, we cannot cope, and the public feels it. In towns like Dover, Hull, Birmingham, and Croydon, residents describe seeing their communities transform faster than government statistics can be printed. Hotels once used for tourism are now long-term migrant housing. Leisure centers have been converted into processing hubs. Entire neighborhoods face sudden population spikes nobody planned for, except the criminal networks exploiting the chaos. Meanwhile, the bill grows. Illegal migration-linked costs hit £4.3 billion this year, a record. Hotel expenditure alone burns £8.2 million every single day. Add welfare support, NHS pressure, social services stress, policing, legal challenges, and preventative security measures, and the total national burden likely exceeds £11 billion. For a country already struggling with inflation and collapsing public trust, this isn't sustainable. It's combustible. But the biggest issue isn't money. It's the vacuum of accountability. Keir Starmer promised fairness and firmness. Instead, Britain got a border system where firmness vanished and fairness became unrecognizable. Deportations fell 18%. Appeals surged 34%. Unresolved asylum cases skyrocketed to over 132,000, and loopholes kept expanding in every direction but enforcement. Even Labour voters are asking, where is the line? Where is the limit? And who exactly is in control? Ask the police. Off the record. Ask border force. Ask local councils burning through budgets. Ask families waiting months for housing while newcomers receive immediate placement in taxpayer-funded accommodation. The truth is simple. Britain was never designed to absorb this volume, at this speed, with this level of political denial. And under Keir Starmer, the denial became doctrine. This is no longer a policy failure. It's a national capacity crisis, a manufactured one. And the next collapse triggered by it will not be administrative, it will be social. Change number 3. The policing breakdown, 2 systems, 2 standards. If change number 1 showed the streets collapsing, and change number 2 showed the border collapsing, then change number 3 shows the most dangerous collapse of all, the collapse of policing fairness, the birth of a 2-tier system. A system where British citizens follow the rules, where farmers, drivers, veterans, small business owners get fined, monitored, restricted, or banned from protesting. But newly arrived groups tied to extremist networks, the ones chanting political slogans, blocking streets, intimidating communities, somehow get greenlit, shielded, excused, or simply ignored. This did not happen by accident. It happened because Keir Starmer's government created a political climate where police leadership fears public backlash more than public disorder. And the numbers are damning. Under Starmer's first year, police response times for violent incidents rose 48%. Charges brought against disruptive protest groups fell 31%. But prosecutions against low-risk British offenders, drivers, homeowners, small protests, rose 22%. Ask any frontline officer why. Their answers are identical. We are restricted. We are advised not to escalate. There are groups we are told to avoid confrontation with. There is political pressure, more than ever before. And then you look at the footage: London, Bristol, Leeds, Cardiff, masked agitators blocking ambulances, crowds storming public squares, radical groups marching straight past synagogues, taunting communities, banners calling for jihad waved openly, flares lit in shopping districts, police standing back, hands tied, while the public films in disbelief. Meanwhile, a small group of farmers attempts a Westminster protest, banned. Lorry drivers block a single lane, arrested within hours. Veterans hold a silent march, restricted under safety guidance. 2 Britons, 2 laws, and the public feels the fracture. In a recent national survey, 69% of Britons said policing is now politically biased. 57% believe certain extremist-leaning groups receive special protection. 54% say they no longer trust police leadership at all. And here's the irony: the frontline police agree with the public. More than 18,000 officers responded anonymously to a private union poll. Morale at breaking point. Leadership compromised by politics. Fear of being labeled discriminatory. We cannot enforce the law equally anymore. This is what a policing crisis looks like. Not a lack of uniforms, not a lack of vehicles, but a lack of permission to enforce the law consistently. And the cost? Communities feel abandoned. Extremist groups feel emboldened, and the public, ordinary British families, no longer feel protected. The government insists the system is stable, but every video, every leaked memo, every overloaded emergency call center says something else. Britain no longer has one police force. It has 2, one for the public and one for the politically protected. And once that line is crossed, trust does not erode slowly. It collapses all at once. Change number 4. The economic squeeze that Britain never voted for. This is the change that hits every home, every wallet, every street. And Starmer can't spin it away. If there is one shift under Keir Starmer that ordinary Britons feel more sharply than any speech, any policy, or any riot, it's the economic tightening that arrived the moment he stepped into number 10. People can debate migration, they can argue about crime, they can disagree about policing, but this change is something every family understands. Life got harder, instantly, brutally, and without warning. The cost of living didn't just rise, it snapped. Energy bills creeping up again right when people thought relief was coming. Food prices rising faster than wages for the 12th straight month. Small businesses folding not because they failed, but because the margins Starmer promised to protect vanished overnight. In Birmingham, a bakery that survived the pandemic shut its doors last week. The owner summed up the frustration of an entire country. "I did everything right. The government did nothing right." That's the shift. Not abstract charts, not treasury forecasts, but real people closing real businesses because the ground beneath them keeps moving. Meanwhile, the government's answer is always the same: long-term strategy, macro adjustments, stabilization period. But workers don't live in macro. Families don't eat stabilization. Shops can't wait 3 years for a long-term plan. People need relief now. And instead they got a government that treats the economy like a PR project. And here's the part that truly ignites public anger: the unfairness. Ordinary Britons tighten belts, cut back, cancel holidays, skip meals to pay rent. Meanwhile, Westminster signs off multi-million-pound schemes that look spectacular in headlines but solve nothing in daily life. Commuters see trains cancelled while ministers celebrate modernization. Drivers see fuel jump 8% while the government funds urban mobility programs. Councils raise taxes while Starmer promises efficiency. It is not the hardship alone that angers people. It's the feeling that the hardship is one-sided, that those who govern are shielded from the consequences of the world they created, and the resentment grows quietly, steadily. Why are we paying more for less? Then comes the economic aftershock nobody voted for. Shops shortening hours because crime insurance is too expensive. Local markets thinning as suppliers quit. City centers hollowing out, not from lockdown, but from economic stagnation disguised as stability. Even people who once defended labor now admit it. The country feels poorer, not just in money, but in spirit. Because economic pressure doesn't stay in banks and spreadsheets. It spills into households, relationships, mental health, communities. This is the change Starmer never campaigned on, never warned the public about, never acknowledged. A Britain where everything costs more and delivers less. Not a recession, not a crash, something worse. A slow national suffocation, and the people feel it every single day. Change number 5. The culture shift. No one voted for. And here's the final change. Quieter than the riots, slower than the economic decline, but far more unsettling. Because under Starmer, Britain didn't just grow less safe, it grew less familiar. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 100 small ways people feel every day. Traditions trimmed back to avoid tensions. Local events rewritten to satisfy sensitivities. Neighbors who once joked freely now watch their words. Parents whisper that their children are being taught values they never agreed to. It's not hatred, it's not fear, it's disconnection. A sense that the cultural glue holding Britain together is thinning. And the most frustrating part? The public didn't ask for any of this. They didn't vote to be lectured. They didn't vote to tiptoe around identity politics. They didn't vote to have long-standing norms quietly replaced by whatever happens to satisfy the loudest activist group this week. For decades, Britain thrived on shared expectations. An unspoken agreement about respect, behavior, and community standards. But in just 1 year, that agreement has been chipped away. Not by the public, but by a government too afraid to defend mainstream values. You can rebuild an economy. You can restore policing. But when a nation loses confidence in its cultural direction, the question becomes unavoidable. If this continues, what kind of Britain will be left to pass on? After seeing all 5 changes, one reality stands out. Britain is shifting faster than most people expected. And not everyone feels ready for where it's heading. Maybe these changes are necessary corrections. Maybe they're early warning signs. Either way, ignoring them isn't an option. So tell me in the comments, does Britain feel stronger today, or more uncertain, more stable, or quietly slipping? Your voice matters. Whatever comes next, one truth remains. Britain is at a crossroads. And the choices we make now will echo far beyond this moment.